I'm having a problem with the parking brake not working. So let's get in there and see if we can figure out what's going on. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but this cable is part of the parking brake cable that runs around this pulley back here and down underneath the car. But when I pull the parking lever out, this cable is actually bound up and it's kind of coiled up inside this tube. So if we pull this out, that straightens up the cable, which is great, but it's not really pulling on this pulley isn't working, it's not spinning. And so something is binding up down underneath the car where when I push this in, all it does is just bind up the cable inside this tube, and it's not releasing down below. So I'm gonna have to raise the car up and get underneath there and see why that cable isn't moving and why it's binding up up inside here. All right, let's work our way back to the parking brake, and we can see here that this is the cable and the parking brake lever. If I pull on the lever, let's see here. So if I pull the lever, it pulls the parking brake cable. So that's, at least this whole mechanism here underneath the transmission is working. Now this is not tight enough, that's a separate issue. The problem I'm having is the cable's binding. So this cable right here is not, if I pull on it, let's see here. If I pull the cable, you can see that part's working, so that's good, but the cable's not moving. It's not, if I pull on it, this cable's not, it doesn't want to go in and out. If I, wow, I could pull that out, wow. So that just made this lever go farther back, towards the back of the car. But this cable is getting, see, I can pull on it, and it's, remember I was telling you that it was kind of coiling up, bounding up in that tube up there. It's straightening out, but if I go back up top and pull that cable, it'll just pull this lever forward, and then the cable won't come back out. So I don't know if it's something is pinched in this line or if it just needs to be greased up or what, but this cable, I can slowly pull it out. So we're undoing that binding up in the parking brake shaft system, but it's not working right here. So I'm gonna have to maybe pull this apart, pull this cable out, and see if we can re-grease up this cable. I just pulled on this cable, I pulled on the lever, and a bunch of dust came out. You can see it on the pedal here, and it's on the floor as well. Came out of this system here, and when I push this back in, see the cable is still binding up back here. It's not going down into that cable path. So let's take this part out of the car and then undo the cable down underneath where it hooks up to that lever, and we'll pull this whole system out and see if we can maybe re-grease that cable track or something. Okay, looks like these two fasteners right here should be the front end of this system. Wow. Well, we're gonna need a bigger screwdriver. Oh, those are not coming out. Woo. And that one goes. That's good. Okay, one down. Now this guy. Oh, this is the hard one. Huh. I'm gonna figure out something else for that one. Oh, jeez. All right, change of plans. I cannot get this second fastener out. It is so rusted in there that I'm gonna have to cut it off for something dumb. So I'll save that project for another day. But while I was put some WD-40 on this, and I've been waiting for it to do its thing. I've been playing with this cable, and if I pull this thing out and then go down underneath the car and pull the cable, I can get it to start to move a little bit. So I think if I could put some grease on there and just kind of work it back and forth, and re-grease the cable without having to pull this out. All right, so again, if I just grease up on the cable right here and just kind of work this thing back and forth, it takes a little bit. I think that will help. Also, this spring it's not in the right spot. It's not, the way this is set up, it's not pulling this lever that direction to release the brake, parking brake, and put this lever back in the default location. So here, if we go ahead and push this thing all the way to the back, there, that's the relaxed state. This spring should have helped pull it back that way, so I think I need to relocate the spring. I also need to tighten that up, but that's a separate issue. So I'm gonna spray some of this stuff, this spray lubricant on here, and go back up and pull the cable through. And see if that'll help kind of start to lubricate this whole system. And it's just gonna take, you know, climbing back up there and pull the cable and come down here and pull it back and forth, and I think it should help grease it up a little bit. Yeah, it's already moving easier. Before I had to pull pretty hard to get this lever to move back, but it's already starting to go easier. I think that's gonna help a lot. I'm also gonna put some grease up on the other end of the cable up inside the car, and that'll help grease up the other end of that track. And then we gotta relocate this. So I'm gonna work this a little bit first. Okay, the next step, now that I've worked that several times, let's get this out of here. And I think this actually is supposed to be above this, and I think this is just whole put together wrong. And I think the mount for this spring is actually back here in the corner, so it kind of pulls at an angle. So let's see if we can get this taken out of here without hurting ourselves. And while I'm down here, there's this wire hanging down. I don't know where this goes. I don't know if it's the reverse light wire for this car. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come back to that one too. But for this, definitely gotta get this thing fixed. Okay. Okay, so that looks like that's pulling better. I guess the next step is to go up inside the car and see if that'll work. Now this obviously needs to be addressed, but again, we'll come back to that. But let's get this guy fixed for now. Okay, that looks like that worked. You were able to see this thing cycle several times. So now, I guess the next part, you know, if we, I bet we could just tighten this guy up, and that'll fix what we need to do here. Yeah, I need to get a socket. This is gonna take too long. Really, this starting to be, I mean, there's not much adjustment left in this. These cables are probably the original. They're just stretched out. So really what you should do is just replace the whole parking brake cable system back here, because we're running out of adjustment on this end. There, that's good and tight, at least on that side. This side's not as much, but I think that's a good place to start. I'm gonna go pull that cable and see how it goes. All right, that's good. Yay. All right, that was an easy fix. I thought I was gonna have to take out that whole parking brake assembly. Turns out I couldn't even do that. That one bolt is in there good. I'm gonna have to, well, hopefully I never have to service that part because I don't know how I'm gonna get it out. But finding out that that cable was just stuck inside that sleeve that runs underneath the car, putting some grease in there helped. And then also the return spring or whatever it's called to pull that parking brake lever underneath the car back when you release the cable. That was in the wrong spot, and we repositioned that, and that helped out a lot as well. And then we kind of got a bonus on that I didn't realize how loose that parking brake adjustment was underneath there. So we got that tightened up, and now I did it off camera, but when I pulled that parking brake, I tried to spin the back wheel, and the wheel wouldn't spin. So that tells me that we're working. So yeah, another easy one. Hopefully that would help some of you guys if you're having a problem with the parking brake binding up on you, the cable binding up. There was that rust that was also in there too. I think that didn't help me out in the where that parking handle is, that tube that it slides in. A bunch of rust was falling out of that when I was trying to slide in and out. So that's probably part of the problem as well. So, all right, that'll do it. Thanks for sticking with me. We'll see you in the next one. I'm having a quarter. All right, I'm making money on this deal. The lens is all dirty.